We've got this terroir that give us a lot of power, a lot of color. So our challenge is more to refine this, to express the place through finesse, keeping this freshness, refining the freshness, refining the tannin texture.
Welcome to the Wine Podcast. I'm Suzanne Mustacich, and my guest today is Maxence Dulou. He's the winemaker at Yunnan. It's the Chinese winery owned by LVMH in the Yunnan province in the Himalayan foothills. Now, every fine wine has a story, but none is more epic than this one. Maxence, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Suzanne, for inviting me.
I'm really excited to talk about this adventure you have in making wine in Yunnan. First, you brought a bottle for us. This is your new vintage.
Yes. So this is our 10th vintage. It is a 2022 vintage that we will release soon through the Border Wine Merchant in March, middle of March.
Well, tell me about this vintage. Take us through it. How was the weather? What was particular about where you are in the world?
So the context is we arrive in 2013 there with no clue about our climate, but we understood that it was a very different soil, climate, and people to work with. So we are learning a little bit every year. And this vintage, after 10 years of experience, now we start to understand what makes the vintage great in terms of climate. And I think this vintage have everything we need.
Okay. Talk to me about rainfall, because you're in a rain shadow, correct? It's fairly dry where you are.
Yeah, the 4 seasons are this way. Usually the winter are dry and cold. And then we've got a spring that is dry and sunny. That creates some challenge, okay? And then the other challenge is in summer. The summer is usually cloudy and a little bit humid. In some area, there is too much rain that we need to manage. And finally, we've got the last season that is fall, that is also sunny, dry, and cool. So you see that this is really a unique climate. And 2022 what makes this vintage great is that we've got the spring with more rain than usually, okay? And we've got the rain at the right moment. If we compare 2022 to 2020, that was also a great climate pattern. In 2020, we've got a good quantity of rain, but a little bit too late. In 2022, we've got a little bit every month of the spring, permitting to have homogeneous growth. And homogeneity is the basic for quality. So we keep this homogeneity until the harvest. Then in summer, usually it's a little bit too wet and too cloudy. And 2022, we've got more sun and a little bit less rain. So it was fantastic to have more refined aroma and great level of ripeness. And finally, in fall, usually it's too dry, so we can have a blockage, and it's difficult sometimes to ripe fully the tannin. And in 2022, we've got a little bit more rain, double quantity of rain that permits us to ripe the grape perfectly.
So you're really happy with this vintage, it sounds like.
And it's also the way we want to go is a little bit more light in terms of body. This is the way we want to go, and the climate really helps us in doing this. And we work a lot in the vineyard, in the cellar, but the climate helps us a lot. So
now you're in the rain shadow. You've also got high UV light because of the elevation, correct? So how does that impact the wine, and particularly this vintage?
So indeed, at this altitude, the UV light is stronger. So it's gonna, so the berry will protect from this stronger sun with making the skin thicker, okay? And a thicker skin means more tannin and more color. And then this UV light is permitting also to ripe the tannin a little bit better. The tannin from the skin, but also the tannin from the seeds. Some study prove that the sun can go through the pulp of the berry and ripe the tannin of the seeds better. And then, so you've got this riper tannin and you've got more color. And the color in a wine with the same quantity and quality of tannin, if you've got more color, the texture will always be more silky, more velvety. So this additional quantity of color give a fantastic texture to the wine.
Okay. And talk to me about the diurnal variation and the impact on the grapes, because you have the difference between night and daytime temperatures is quite a bit. And doesn't that give you fresher aromas and has an impact on the acidity?
Yeah, so we've got a very high variation between day and night, give us more freshness in terms of aroma and also help to ripe the tannin also. But what we've got more is the shade of the mountain. The vineyard where we are, they are above 2,000 meters, and we've got mountain going until 7,000 meters. So these mountains are creating a rain shadow, but also a sun shade. They are creating the shade. And so in the morning, instead of having the sun rising in the vineyard at 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock in summer, we've got at 9 or 10 o'clock. And then in the afternoon, we've got less sunshine hour also. So globally, we've got 30% less sunshine hour, exacerbating this diurnal range temperature.
It's actually, it's really quite complex. I can remember speaking to the late Tony Jordan years ago about it. And he said, just because in the way the valley goes and the terraces are at different, not only different elevations, but different exposures to the sun, it was actually quite complicated to choose the vineyards.
Yeah, so Tony choose diversity, but globally, when you are on the flat land, the exposure have not so much impact. When you are on a very steep land like us, there is a big impact coming from the exposure, and then you've got the impact of the altitude. So all of this makes that there is a lot of diversity.
So before we get into the extraordinary location where you are, talk to me a little bit how you ferment the wine and how you age it.
So we try to make a pure, fine, and fresh wine. This is what we try to do.
So that's your objective.
This is the objective. So we are helped by the climate for sure every year, and then everything we do in the vineyard is for this goal, and same in the cellar. So in the cellar, to reach the objective, we try to extract less, and also we try to have a neutral recipient.
Okay, aging. So are you aging it in barrels, in vats?
So we try to have neutral recipient. So we've got a little bit of barrel. So in this one, I think there is 20% new oak, 20% old barrels that are more neutral. And then we've got 40% stoneware jar.
And why the stoneware jars?
Because they are more neutral and they are local. You know, they have been built by Chinese from centuries. So they are aging by Joe, and since the beginning, we want to express the place. You don't come so far away to do something that is similar to other Grand Cru all over the world. So we go for a neutral, local recipient. And we've got also some glass jars that are even more neutral and that are very interesting for us.
So is this something you're kind of playing with every vintage? You're trying it out to see what the impact is?
Yes, we are learning, but we go in the direction of no more new oak in order to express the place, you know, and to have more purity, more transparency.
Okay, great. So I think we should open this bottle of wine. Terrific. Let's try it. Well, first of all, it is the color I expected. This is really, really brilliant dark ruby. Are you happy with the color?
Yeah.
Actually, you must put a smile on your face. It's beautiful.
Yeah. We even tend to decrease the quantity of color. We have a lot of color. And as I said to you, we've got these terroirs that give us a lot of power, a lot of color. So our challenge is more to refine this, to express the place through finesse, you know, keeping this freshness, refining the freshness, refining the tannin texture.
What do you tell us how you taste this wine?
I like it. I like the fact that it's a little bit close now. We have this closure, but also some aromas that are what we call professionally that are a little bit reduced. You know, now some aroma have this reduction and that give more complexity, and then it's opening slowly. But usually what we have in this wine is the duality between freshness and ripeness. So indeed, we've got this aroma of black fruit, and we've got also some freshness, fresh aroma like cedar wood that is not coming from the oak, because a lot of people, depending on the place, but sometimes people think the cedar wood aroma or cigar box aroma coming from the wood. This is not the case here. And there is this incense also. I love this kind of incense.
Yes, it's a mixture of sort of spices and a little floral. I think it's really interesting. It's quite delicate. Yeah, it's delicate, it's complex, it's lovely. And on the palate, there is definitely that brightness. You get that fresh brightness of the acidity that lifts it.
Yeah, I think this one possibly is even more silky than velvety. It's a little bit lighter than the previous vintage. The previous vintage was the driest vintage we ever had. In 2021, the vineyards struggle a lot, but they show a lot of resilience, because even in this climate, the wine were still very fresh. But this one is a little bit fresher, a little bit lighter, this is closer to our dream.
So talk to me about the blending the wine and tasting it. You're working at elevation. Do you need go down to sea level at any point?
We are facing many challenges because of the place we have the vineyard. So one is the elevation. We have the cellar at 2000,
which is remarkable,
which is unique. Some vineyard can be above, but some cellar for fine wine at this altitude, I think we are one of the only one. And this have an impact on the wine itself. There is less oxygen going into the wine during the process. And also after the bottling, we age our wine in bottle in this place, and at 2,600 meters, for sure the wine will have a different profile that if you age it in your own cellar. But in terms of tasting, we taste the wine also very differently. There is 25% less oxygen, so your body need oxygen. When we have less oxygen, your brain is not working the same. All your organs are not so accurate. And then also the air is very dry at this altitude. So your nose and your mouth are drying, and you have tendency to saturate a little bit faster. So this is why since 2016 vintage, we understood that to be more accurate in tasting the wine, we have to bring the sample at the sea level, and then we can understand better the different personality of the wine, and we can do a better blend.
And so what is the blend for this wine? You've got Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, Merlot, Petit Verdot, Syrah?
Yes, exactly. So first of all, we try to use this cultivar as translator. If they are expressing too much their varietal, we don't put into the blend. Okay, and the main translator is the Cabernet. Cabernet Sauvignon and Cabernet Franc is always our main translator. And so in this wine, it's 55% Cabernet Sauvignon, 14 Cabernet Franc. And then we add other cultivar for giving more complexity. There is 17% Merlot this year. Is the highest percentage we ever put, because this spring with more rain helps the Merlot to be better. And we've got 7% Syrah and 7% Petit Verdot.